Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're checking out another Dougram kit here from Max Factory. This is another version GT, which is the Get Truth Dougram manga series, which is the source material for these. The previous one we took a look at came with an issue of the manga in the box together with the kit, which was very cool. This one is just the model kit on its own, but I'm guessing the model kit itself is going to be very similar. It's a little bit different version of the design, but the kit should be mostly the same. So if you haven't seen that previous video, do feel free to check that one out as well. I'll have a link down in the video description below. But as great as it is to just sit here admiring this beautiful box art here on this, let's go ahead and get it open and check it out for today's review. So yeah, really lovely box art here for this, and as you can see, it's there in vertical format with all of the logos and everything on that. This is in 1/72 scale, but as you can see, it's a pretty thin box, and if you saw my previous review of the other kit, I likened it to an entry grade just because it's fairly simple in just the parts and the construction of it. Not going to be anything too flashy, but it does have a ton of details, so once it's all painted up, it's going to look really nice, as you can see by these sample photos here showing some of the articulation. So it's got nice articulation, nice details, just not a very complex model kit by any means. There you can see it has the molded detail of the pilot figure inside the cockpit there in the head and everything. Around on the other side of the box has vertical images, which are harder to show you guys on video here, but those are going to be images of the front and back of the kit just in a standing pose there. And right here is a little bit about the Get Truth manga there. So let's go ahead and pop open the box. We'll take a look at all of our runners here in a moment. A couple of things in here, including an advertisement for the Gaia Notes paints. So if you guys were unaware, Gaia Notes makes a line of Dougram specific paints. I don't believe they're very easy to get here in the US though, so if you're in the US and wanting to get these, you might have some trouble. But on the back side of here shows the full line of those, and there's some really cool colors in them. I have a handful of them. They're really nice, obviously, for this type of model kit, for these type of colors. They got some really nice ones in that line. As for our instruction manual here, we got that box art right there in the front, which would make for a very nice poster, something to put that up on your wall, just to frame this manual when you're done. You have a nice little piece of artwork there. On the back side is the parts list right there. And then on the inside, all of the construction is in color, so that's really nice to see. And then you have your guide over here for decals. Again, really nice line art image there, all in color. The color guide is here as well as the decal guide. The decals are a very nice set of waterside decals here in yellow, red, white, and black. Looks like mostly for those with some nice lining and logo decals on there. Very cool. Right, getting into the runners here, runners A and B are going to be in this dark navy color for the main color of the Dougram. As you can see, it's a lot of really nice detail on there. We got two of the B runner. Runner C as well in that dark navy color, a couple parts there for the parts on the side of the arms. Runners D and E are going to be in a very slightly off-white color there for the secondary color of the armor. Runners F and G are going to be in this medium gray. It's a warm gray color there for the joint parts. Runner H is in a really nice red color for a couple of red detail accents, and then runner I is our clear part there for the canopy. Then we're getting into some more of the new equipment here with runner K, which looks to be all of the parts for the backpack here in a bluish gray color. And then we have runner L for a few more pieces there in that dark navy, and M for a couple more pieces here in that nice red color, and that's it. Alright guys, so here we have the kit when it's all done. Just a nice little kit, simple construction, but really nicely detailed and pretty nicely articulated as well, as you guys will see here in the review portion of the video. As I think I mentioned already, and I'll probably mention again before the review is done, but yeah, it's very similar. It reminds me a lot to the entry grade kits from Bandai, just in terms of its simplicity, but they're really making the most out of a quite simple model kit here with this one, because it does have very few parts. But as I mentioned before, the details on the exterior are really nice. And also the part separation, if you plan on disassembling the kit for painting it, the colors are separated nicely. And there's really not too much going on in the way of seam lines that you need to worry about in terms of prepping the kit for painting either. So we'll start off by taking a look at its accessories, question mark? So yeah, as for its accessories, it just doesn't really have any, unless you count what's kind of already mounted on here, the gun mounted onto the side of the arm, and like the armaments here on the backpack, but that's really gonna be about it. You don't really get anything else in the box except for the waterside decals, and that's it. But just taking a look at it more closely so you can see all the detail around on the kit. As I mentioned, there are a couple little seam lines here on the side of the body right there. And then going around to the back of the lower legs, there's a seam line right there. And then on the weapons, so on the missile pod up here, there's going to be a seam on that. And then on the cannon, there's going to be a seam down the length of the barrel there That's pretty understandable and not too surprising for a kit like this. Now I will say, as great as the kit is, as much as I like it, is going to be a little bit floppy. Probably my only real complaint about this is that here in the midsection, just because of the articulation in there, which is nice and great for posing, but it is like a little bit weak feeling, and then like here in the legs as well, just kind of feels a bit floppy, and like in the feet as well. There's a ball joint that they pop into here in the ankle, into the foot, and it's kind of just barely held in there, and the feet do tend to come off kind of easily. But they're underneath the feet, just to show you while we're here, there's what that looks like underneath there. Nothing too exciting underneath the feet. But as I said, the rest of the detail does look really nice. The head articulation is going to be a little bit limited by the hoses there coming from the backpack down onto the torso. Those don't actually connect, they're just kind of made to look like they do. But that is going to limit your side-to-side movement of the head quite substantially, as you can really only turn the head kind of a little bit, and you're running into those hoses there in the back, so you're just going to want to be a little bit careful with that. But you do have the seated pilot up inside there. It's going to be kind of difficult to see because it's so small, but they are in there inside the clear part there for the canopy. And as I mentioned, we have a double ball joint system here in the torso, so you have 2 points of articulation, but the lower one is going to be kind of the main point. The higher one is a little bit tighter, so that's why it's a little bit hard to get that midsection to be like kind of lined up. It always tends to look a little bit crooked, so you kind of have to work with it a little bit to get it kind of straight. Otherwise, if you bend it to the side, then it's just going to look a bit weird. But the shoulder is just connected via a ball joint, but that whole part will raise up and pop off of that quite easily because it's just a kind of C-clip onto there. But you can raise that up carefully, and then the arm will come up to about there. You can extend that to about 90 degrees perpendicular to the ground. And so as you can see, this shoulder armor here on the side, it just moves independently like that. The arm will rotate there at the top, and the elbow is just on a single joint. If you guys saw in the live stream, I broke this one, so I glued it back together. I want to be a little bit careful with it, so I'm going to demonstrate this one over here for you guys. Now the joint is going to give you about 90 degrees there. Not really too much, but yeah, just be careful with that. It's a little bit tight. The hand is also on a ball joint, and these closed fists are the only hand options that we have for these. So if you wanted to have it holding a weapon or something like that, you're gonna have to swap out the hands for something different. But as you can see there, aside from the rotation at the top of the arm, you also have some rotation here below the elbow joint as well. There's no moving skirt armor at all around on this, and as for the backpack, the only movement is just going to be the forward and back rotation here of the armaments, so you can point that over the shoulder like so, or on the other side you can also do like that. But the backpack does look really nice, a lot of really great detail in and around on that. Once that's painted up, that's going to look really nice. The hips are just attached via a ball joint that does slide up and down, so right now it's in the higher position. You can see you can only bring the legs out to the side to here, and only to the front to there, so it's quite limited. But the way that it's supposed to look is for like a standing pose. The hip joint is higher tucked in there, it looks kind of more natural. But you can drop it down here in the lower position. You can kind of see the difference. There's much more of this hip joint is exposed, and that'll give you a little bit further range of movement up to the front, but out to the side it's going to basically be the same, just because it's just on a ball joint there, so there's only so far that you can move that. But at the knee you have a double joint. You can't really take all that full advantage of it. You can still get about 90 degrees out of that bend, so I feel like that's pretty good. Again, just nice detail here with these red accents of the bars at the front and the back. This one does not move, neither of them move, but if you were expecting this one to be kind of a loose hanging one there, it looks like that, but it doesn't actually move, it's just fixed in place there. And the ankle joints have a nice range of movement here. It's just like I said, they can be a little bit loose just on a little ball joint up inside there. And then for a size comparison, here it is with a 1/44 scale Gundam kit. So you can see it's going to be pretty similar to like a standard HG Gundam, but just a little bit taller maybe. And with that, guys, that should just about cover it for this review. We'll take a look at a couple of sample poses that you can do with this, but again, without it having any kind of other accessories or anything, there's really only going to be so much that you can do as far as posing it. Just because of the nature of the kit, the aesthetic of it, I think this is very similar to the Brutish Dog kit that we recently took a look at from Wave, in that the style of these mechs is supposed to be more kind of like a walking tank kind of thing, rather than like this Gundam style mecha that's able to jump and fly and do all these really cool dynamic poses and everything. That's not really the kind of style of mecha that this is. So the amount of articulation that you have here is pretty nice for what it is. It's pretty limited though if you want to do like anything too dynamic, but I don't feel like most people are probably going to want to do any type of posing like that. I feel like the articulation that you have built into this should give you the ability to do anything that you could really possibly want with it. And if you need anything more, it should be pretty easy to modify just because of the way that the kit is designed. As I mentioned before, it's very simple in terms of just the parts and everything, so modifying it should be pretty easy for anybody that's interested in doing that. Out of the box, if you just wanted to put some pen liner on there, maybe just do like a little bit of weathering on it, just straight on the plastic and water slides and then top coat on it, I think it's going to be looking pretty nice. But obviously, if you want to get the full effect with this, you're going to want to paint it and then probably do some weathering and everything on it as well, and I think it's going to look really nice. What this is for just a nice simple Dougram kit, I gotta say it is a really great option for you guys. If you're interested in the series, if you're a fan of the design, definitely worth checking out. I really enjoyed this one, and then the previous version that we took a look at with the claw arm, that was also pretty cool. But again, they're very simple kits, so you just keep that in mind when you're getting the kit. It's not going to be anything too crazy. You're going to be able to put it together and build it probably over a weekend. You could have it painted and weathered out as just a pretty nice simple project, or if you want to build it out into something a little bit more elaborate, you can do that. But anyway guys, if you're interested in checking out any of the kits from Max Factory or anything else mecha model related, you can check the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store. We've got all that stuff there for you guys, as well as tools, paints, supplies, everything else that you might need. So check that out. If you guys also want to like and or subscribe while you're here, that would be greatly appreciated, as I really appreciate all you guys' support. Until next time, thank you so much for just checking out the video here today. We'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.